Welcome to today's class. We shall proceed from where we left last time in regards to communication. And there's a very little diagram here which I want to use it to try and explain how communication within an organization can be done, but now using the technology. Because at the end of the day, it is going to be within this spectrum that they will be able to use it maybe to perform the activities that are mentioned, or maybe they are going to be enshrined across. Now, you'll find that in an organization, they will have this as their main distributor for the internet services. This main distributor is going to be fixed to the router. This router is the one that is bringing in the internet maybe from the different providers across the point. And therefore, like if we use the HR as the point of communication, then automatically it is allowing us to be able now to share that information across. And therefore, when the router is able to link that internet service, then we shall be in a position to connect various computers on it and therefore be able to communicate and share the ideas that are across. So this is just a sample of a communication device, so that if you are using it in regard to sharing information, then this point of distribution is only ensuring that we are able to initiate processes that are across, and also they are able to move on very swiftly within the spectrum of engagement across the point. So that was just a brief enlightenment on what it entails within the organization. Now, let me go to what we call the office etiquette, or generally the word etiquette, because in communication we try to find out if we are to share ideas amongst our friends or amongst other individuals, to what extent are we going to perform these activities. So etiquette, they are just rules and manners of engagement when you are sharing information with your predetermined audience or target audience, and they are said to be sacred and accepted by the society. So meaning it is easier for us to be able to acknowledge when we are engaging in this spirit of communication, to what extent are we going to share this information, and if we are sharing this information, are we in one way or another obedient to the rules and manners that are considered to be sacred and acceptable to the society. So the principles, we can also say they are the principles that dictate the spirit of communication, because on the general end, we are looking at it as a means of showing some level of dignity, respect, and other initiatives, because if you are going to lose on this, then somehow it might undermine your spirit of communication. And that's why they say etiquette and manners, these two go hand in hand, because sometimes people will fail or they will ignore whatever you are sharing if you are lacking manners, meaning you might have a very good point of engagement, but when you are not able to initiate some bit of mannerisms, it is going to be very much technical. So some of the types of etiquette. So the first one is called the social etiquette. And under social etiquette, it is mostly involving individuals about their norms of behavior, because the way we carry out ourselves on the automatic point of entry, then it will in one way or another be a preference for individuals that are going to be there. So they are looking at an acceptable mode of behavior, because there are other mechanisms or there are other modes of behavior we manifest that are going to undermine or maybe make people feel that we are not lacking or maybe we are lacking manners, and whatever we are putting forth does not agree with them. Number 2, it is meeting etiquette, meaning when we are conducting meetings, we have the conveners and we have the participants. Both of them, there are certain codes of ethics or codes of conduct they are supposed to manifest all along, so that they don't lose on the parameters of engagement within that meeting. Because if a meeting is not conducted in a manner that is acceptable and prescribed by both members who are participants and the conveners, it will in one way or another give a very negative impression to any member within that meeting. The third one, it is wedding etiquette, and this targets the full execution or maybe the undertakings that govern the spirit of weddings. Because when we are doing or maybe initiating a wedding, what does it mean in terms of you as the participant? Because we have the conveners of the wedding and we have the maybe implementers and those who are participating in that spirit. So like if you are the one doing the wedding and you come late, in one way or another, on the issues of etiquette, you might be seen as having failed as a person. Number 4 is about corporate, and this takes us back to our workplaces. It means how we manifest at our workplaces within and without the organization. Does it conform to that level of dignity that is expected to be manifested? Because sometimes when we are coalescing or maybe relating with each other, to what extent do we make sure that we maintain some bit of decorum? The 5th one is a funny one, inaitwa bathroom etiquette. That one I won't explain, but it gives you what as an individual you need to expect when you are using that facility anywhere, whether in the public sector or maybe privately at home. 6, it is business etiquette. So if you are a business person, you will be serving customers. So they are simply also looking at you as a service provider. Them being service consumers, there are certain measures they are going to use or mechanisms to try and measure your level of service provision. So what do you put across? And therefore, professionally, there are codes and rules that we need to follow in conducting our different types of businesses and making sure that we don't lose our customers. The next one is eating etiquette. In general, we call them table manners, so we all understand what it entails. That one I will not dwell there. The next one is telephone etiquette, and it reminds us that a telephone conversation, it is more like a one-on-one conversation. So what principles do we obey in instituting that conversation, and how are we going to make sure that whatever we do promotes that conversation and does not maybe undermine the execution of that conversation, maybe in different perspective of engagement or maybe perspective of undertaking. Plus many, there are many, but I've just given you a few from social meeting, wedding, corporate, bathroom, business, eating, telephone, etc. There are many, you can add yours. So I'll finish up with the barriers to effective communication, because we cannot communicate adequately if we are not able also to realize there are those issues that are going to hamper our mode of engagement. So the first one is perceptual barriers, where people have different ways they view things. The second one is attitudinal. That is the disposition we manifest in the spirit of communication 3, which is common, language barrier. Use the language that is appropriate. If it is inappropriate, automatically it is going to lose the meaning. 4, emotional barrier, whereby how do we, in one way or another, manage our own emotions in the spirit of engagement. 5, it is cultural barriers, whereby we are bound by our backgrounds or where we coexist, and therefore anything we are doing, we cannot disobey our culture. And lastly, gender. That is, when we are communicating in one way or another, the gender can also be an impediment to effective communication. So we use it to be able to cultivate what is positive. So for today, we can stop there, and God willing, we shall proceed next time. Thank you.